This is Singapore's metro system. It serves 2.1 million passengers every single day. And this is LA's metro system. It serves 178,000 passengers a day. Now here's what makes that so strange. Both cities have almost the same population size, and both systems cover almost the same distance of track. So how can two cities, so similar on paper, produce results this different? The answer is design. And today, we're going to look at exactly how Singapore became one of the most brilliantly engineered cities on the planet, and what every other city in the world can learn from it. Before we get into what Singapore did right, you need to understand what it was working against. Singapore is a tiny island. It sits right here, squeezed between Malaysia to the north and Indonesia to the south. The entire country covers just 719 square kilometers of land. To put that in perspective, that is roughly half the size of Los Angeles. But with 1.7 million more people living inside it, most cities facing that kind of density would buckle, traffic would be unbearable, housing would be unaffordable, infrastructure would collapse under the pressure. But Singapore didn't buckle. In fact, Singapore became independent only in 1965, barely 60 years ago. And in that time, it transformed from a developing port city into one of the wealthiest, cleanest, and most livable places on Earth. So what did they actually do? Let's start with transport, because this is where the genius of Singapore's design becomes impossible to ignore. Here is Singapore's MRT map, their metro system, overlaid on the city's population density. Look at how it's laid out. The lines form a ring that loops through every major residential area. That means if you live on the east side and work on the west side, you don't have to go into the city center to get there. You go around it. The system is designed for how people actually move, not just for getting in and out of downtown. Now compare that with LA's metro, overlaid on its own population density. LA's system is built to move people into and out of the city center. If your origin and destination are both outside downtown, which is true for the vast majority of people in LA, the train is basically useless. So people drive, and LA becomes what it is today. That single design difference explains a 12x gap in daily ridership between two systems of almost identical size. But the MRT is just the beginning. Singapore's trains run every 2 to 3 minutes during rush hour. The city has installed sensors and laser scanners beneath the tracks to monitor rail conditions in real time. So engineers know exactly when maintenance is needed before a breakdown ever happens. This isn't a transport system. It's a precision instrument. And the city didn't stop there. Because here's the thing. Building a great metro system only works if you also make driving less attractive. And Singapore figured that out decades ago. A Toyota Corolla in Singapore costs $99,500. That is not a typo. Singapore operates a strict quota system, capping the number of passenger cars on the road at around 600,000 vehicles. To own a car, you must purchase a certificate of entitlement, a license to use the road, at government auction. That certificate alone currently costs around $58,000 for a small car. Add the car itself, insurance, road tolls, parking, and fuel, and over a 10-year period, that single Toyota Corolla costs you close to $150,000. The same car in the United States starts at $22,000. And on top of that, Singapore began charging vehicles to enter the city center back in the 1970s, decades before London or Rome introduced congestion pricing. Even now, at rush hour, the average speed on Singapore's expressways is still 60 kilometers per hour. The roads flow, the air is cleaner, and public transport is so fast, so frequent, and so affordable that for most people, owning a car simply doesn't make sense. That's the design, not just building better trains, making the alternative worse. Transport is one thing, but if you want to understand how deeply Singapore thinks about design, you need to look at its housing system. More than 80% of Singaporeans live in government-built public housing. Now, in most countries, those words, government-built public housing, carry a particular image: crumbling tower blocks, neglected estates, crime, poverty. Think of the Pruitt-Igoe housing project in St. Louis, Missouri, built in 1954 to house thousands of residents. Within a decade, it had become one of the most dangerous and dysfunctional places in the city. It was demolished after less than 20 years. Singapore looked at that model and did something completely different. When the Housing and Development Board was established in 1960, they didn't just build flats. They built entire new towns, what they called self-contained communities. Every estate includes schools, shops, restaurants, hawker food centers, parks, and a direct connection to public transit. Everything a family needs is within walking distance of their front door. They also enforced ethnic integration quotas, making sure no single block or estate becomes dominated by one race or income group, because they understood that segregation, even unintentional segregation, is what turns a housing estate into a ghetto. But perhaps the most important decision they made was this. Instead of renting to residents, the HDB sells apartments to Singaporean citizens at below market rates on a 99-year lease. That means more than 95% of public housing in Singapore is owner-occupied. People own their homes. They invest in them. They maintain them. They care about the community around them because they have a stake in it. The result is that Singapore has some of the highest home ownership rates in the developed world. And its public housing estates, far from being places people want to escape, are genuinely desirable places to live. But here's the problem with being a tiny island with a rapidly growing city. You eventually run out of space. So Singapore did something extraordinary. It made more land. Since colonial times, Singapore has added over 14,000 hectares of new territory through land reclamation, dredging sand from the seafloor, and physically expanding the island outward. That's nearly 25% more land than existed when the British first arrived in 1819. To put that in perspective, Singapore has reclaimed a greater percentage of its original land area than the Netherlands, a country famous for reclaiming land from the sea. Changi Airport, consistently rated the best airport in the world, was built entirely on reclaimed land, and it is now set to nearly double in size by 2035, with a new terminal designed for an additional 50 million passengers per year. But land reclamation comes with a cost. Singapore's mangrove forest, which once covered 75 square kilometers of coastline, now cover just 6.6. Original tropical rainforest has shrunk from 400 square kilometers to just 2. These aren't just environmental losses. Mangrove forests absorb enormous amount of carbon, protect coastlines from flooding, and survive in saltwater. Losing them matters. Singapore knows this, and the city has spent the last several decades trying to rebuild what development has taken. Since 2009, developers in Singapore are legally required to replace whatever green space they build on the building itself. The result is a skyline dotted with rooftop gardens, green walls, and vertical forests. The city's aim is for every resident to live within a 10-minute walk of a park by 2030. It's a city expanding and restoring at the same time. Singapore is not perfect. It is a democracy in name, but the People's Action Party has held power continuously since independence, and that political stability is part of what made 60 years of long-term planning possible. Whether that trade-off is worth making is a question Singapore citizens continue to debate. Much of the city's original architectural heritage has also been lost. The kampong villages, small communities with a distinctive architecture and rural lifestyle, have almost entirely disappeared. The old shop houses and colonial streetscapes that once defined the city are slowly giving way to glass and steel. But if you want to study what it looks like when a government genuinely treats transport, housing, public space, and the environment as one connected system, not as separate problems to be solved by separate departments with separate budgets, Singapore is the most complete example in the world. Design isn't about how things look, it's about how they work. And by that measure, Singapore works better than almost anywhere else on Earth. If you want to see our next video, where we look at a city that had every geographic advantage Singapore had and systematically wasted all of it, make sure you're subscribed. And if you found this interesting, this video right here is a good place to go next. We'll see you there.